Okay. Now, I know this doesn't look professional, but I need to make sure this is working properly. So let me just double check on my phone. Yes, it's working. Okay. Welcome to my first YouTube live stream. I'm Harvinder. I've been in Bitcoin since 2015 and I've been making videos since 2022. What happened was I used to be on TikTok and I was getting quite a lot of traction, but then I got my account banned and then I just stopped making videos. And so I've been making them now and again. But more recently I've been making more and more videos, and I'm starting to do them every day, and I've had some people ask me about doing live streams. And so here I am. And I might make this more of a regular thing. It depends on how it goes. So let's begin. Or before I begin, I just want to say that I'm going to probably go live for about half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm just going to go through the charts, look at the macro charts, and let you know what I'm thinking, what's more likely to happen over the next few months. And if you have anything you want me to look at, any charts, just let me know and I can have a look at it. So let me start sharing my screen. So if you do have any charts that you want me to look at, just drop a comment. So yeah, Bitcoin, we've had quite a bit of a drop over the last month or so. A lot of people are surprised, including me. I mean, I was kind of hoping that the run would continue to go on, but I've got my trusty indicator here, which flashed a sell signal when the price was around about 106k. If you've been following my stuff for a while, you know this is a good indicator. It tells you when it's a safe time to buy and also when to sell. And it doesn't work every time, because if you look over here, there was quite a few buy and sell signals which didn't really work out. But it's essentially what it does is it tells you if it's a good time to be in the market or not a good time to be in the market. And so when it flashes sell, that means you should just sell, stay in cash. When it flashes buy, then you should be in the market. And it does work. Like I've been going on about this for years, and if you back test it, it just works really, really well. And so ultimately, I'm not thinking of getting back into the market until my indicator flashes a buy signal. And for that to happen, see this red line here that's been painted, and you got this green one here as well. The red one needs to cross over the green one. And so if you look over previous signals, so here you would have been out of the market, but this is when it crosses over like this, that's when you buy back in. And so that's what I'm ultimately waiting for. And until then, it really is just a guessing game, because I keep saying trading analysis works, but no one knows for sure what's going to happen. Right now, we are in a downtrend. We've been in a 3-year uptrend. People forget that. And I do make a point of mentioning that in my videos. So if you look at, let me just bring up this other chart. See, if you look at this one here, I know this one's a little bit messy because I've got these blue trend lines, which I'm going to delete now. I'm going to keep this in here actually. So yeah, if you look at this channel here, this is a 3-year uptrend. It started at the end of 2022 and we've broken out of it. And so we've had 3 years of good stuff, and now who knows how long it's going to last for. Because if you look at previous runs, we've had uptrends, small downtrends, uptrends, downtrends, uptrends. And right now, no one knows for sure how long this is going to last. But we've just come out of a 3-year uptrend. So I'd imagine it will last at least a few months. And right now we're only in month 2 rather. And so my best guess is this is going to continue to go on until at least January for sure. And then towards the end of January, and that's when things are probably more likely to pick up. And like I said, no one knows for sure. And we can just keep tracking the charts and seeing what's going to happen. I want to tidy this chart up a little bit actually. Let's zoom in a little bit closer, because I was watching this trend line here, which has broken, but it keeps breaking and it comes back underneath and it keeps breaking. So it's not really a good trend line. I'm going to delete these as well, just to tidy this up a bit. But this little red squiggle here, this does stand still. I do see further falling, and my gut feeling is that we're going to probably hit these lows over here before going back up. Now, if we look at another one of my charts, this is the one that I normally talk about in my daily videos. And so let's make this a bit clearer. And it shows the same thing. You know, we've got this wall of resistance here. And for me to flip bullish, and I've mentioned this a few times, we need to break this level here. And once we break this and stay above this, that's when we can start getting bullish. But until that happens, nothing's probably going to happen except continued downside. And so I'll tell you why this is important. And I did speak about this in my video the other day. Let me just go back in time a little bit. I'm going to go into the daily chart. And the reason why resistance levels are important is because they need to be broken properly in order to get bullish. I'm just looking in the comments actually. Someone's asked me to look at Asta. What's the ticker for that? Is it just AST USD? I can have a look. But let me just quickly explain this. You've got, like back here, we had this resistance level. And we really had to break this properly to start getting bullish again. And that took a long time. And so that took, what, almost a year. And then even more recently, we had this kind of level here. And then even back in the last run, 2021, we had that kind of level there. And you got to remember there's levels and levels and levels. So you got to wait for one to break and then another one. But ultimately, you know, you've got the main one. So we had this one here, then that one. And then you've got more horizontal ones as well. Like in this area here was an area that a lot of people were looking at until this broke. They weren't really going to get bullish. And so that's why this is important. We're in the same situation, just like even in more recent times over here. We had this crash towards the beginning of last year. And we had to break this in order to start getting bullish again. And so we're in the exact same situation. And so what we need Bitcoin to break this level. And once it does, that's when we can start getting bullish. But until that happens, then we're more likely just going to see more and more downturn. The reason why I don't think we're in a bear market, we're in a downtrend, is two different things. A bear market, if you want my definition, is, what's a good definition? I've never really thought of it. But a bear market for me is where, you know, there's no hope of any kind of pump anytime soon. And that's because of macroeconomic conditions. The overall stock markets might be down, money printing isn't happening, the economy might be in contraction even, where they do QT, quantitative tightening. And so what's different now is the economy is pretty good still. Like if we look at the macro, and let's look at stocks. I know they've had a bit of a tumble, but if you look at it today, I haven't actually looked at it today. We're in a bit of a green candle right now, so that's good. I mean, from a macro perspective, stocks are at almost an all-time high still. Everything's had a bit of a recovery. The Russell, that's a really good chart to be looking at as well. That's doing really well as well. Like none of these charts look really, really bad. Look at the UK stock market. I'm pretty sure that's almost at all-time highs again. Gold is going crazy. Silver. The only thing that looks bad is Bitcoin and US oil at the moment. And I think natural gas as well. That's had a bit of a sharp pullback. And so overall, the economy is looking good. Even individual stocks, they're all at all-time high levels nearly. But the most bullish thing for me is this chart here. This is the US money supply. Now, if you follow the macro, they've been talking about starting QE, quantitative easing. And that means they're going to start printing money. Now, that's never really happened in this context before, because this is what Ray Dalio refers to as stimulating into a bubble. The markets are already at all-time highs, and now they're printing more money. And liquidity is the heartbeat of the system. Think about your own personal finances. Say, for example, you've got 100 grand. You want to buy stocks, Bitcoin, crypto, and you want to buy some gold and silver, and even some bonds. If you were to split that each way, that's 20 grand each, 5 different asset classes. And if you wanted to buy more crypto, for example, or even more gold, and you don't have more money, the only thing you can do is rotate, liquidate some assets, and move that money into the other asset. So all of a sudden, you sell, say, 5 grand's worth of stocks, and then you put that into Bitcoin. And so you've got 25% in Bitcoin and only 15% in stocks. It's the same amount of money, but you've just moved it around a bit. And the reason why that's important to understand is that's where we've been throughout this whole period. Like, if you look at this period here, since 2022 to now, the markets, like, they haven't printed any more money. They've only gradually started to print over the last year or so, but nothing like they've done before. Like, this is in 2020. They printed like crazy in that year. And if you zoom out and look at this chart, it's just on a crazy uptrend, and it hardly ever contracts, and it has contracted, but the markets have still pumped. And the reason for that is, in my opinion, is this chart here. And I've only seen a few people talk about this, and it's the reverse repos, overnight reverse repurchase agreements. Now, what this basically is this is money that the big banks and institutions park overnight at the Federal Reserve for a very nominal interest rate. So rather than them leaving it in their own bank account, they give it to the Fed, they get a bit of interest, and then they get it back the next day. And the reason why this is important is if you look at around over here, this is March 2021. This is when Bitcoin and everything started to crash. This chart went from like 4 billion to nearly 2 trillion, over 1 trillion within those few months. And what that translates to is this: money has left the markets, and that cash is not being invested. So these banks and these institutions, they've just basically taken them, they've sold everything off, and they know the markets aren't in a good way, so it's too risky for them to leave that money in the markets, and so they might as well keep that cash and make some interest on it. And I was saying, if you watch my live streams from years ago, I said until this chart starts to roll over, then there's not really much point in getting bullish. And this is the point where this support trend line broke. This is July 2023. And if you look at the other charts, July 2023, let's look at Bitcoin, for example. Around about here, it took a little while, but Bitcoin was only at 29k. Look where we are today. And let's have a look at stocks as well. Where were stocks July 2023? Now, stocks they don't react as much as Bitcoin, but July 2023, stocks were here. So 4387. And right now we're at 6824. But look what happened after that. It just went on a crazy run, almost doubled. And this chart continued to fall and fall and fall. And I've always said, when this chart starts to go back up, that's when you probably want to be exiting your positions as well. Because this is the smart money. When this starts to go up, the smart money is protecting what they have. They're not investing or gambling, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, has been spiking up. So this is concerning. But if you look, it has spiked up and down many times. But the money printing, my point is, the markets have pumped without money printing. And now money printing is about to start. And it's if you just got to do the math. All this money is going to enter the system. It needs to go somewhere. And all these institutions and banks and companies, the ones that have access to this money, they want to grow it. And so they're going to invest. And Ray Dalio, I did talk about this article a few videos ago. He talked about how the Fed is stimulating into a bubble, and what that could potentially mean is for markets to really pump, go crazy, there'll be some kind of blow off top, and then there's going to be some big crash. And that's what I believe is going to happen as well, because this money coming into the market, it's going to do the same thing. All this fresh liquidity, markets are going to go crazy. And you just go back to the Wall Street cheat sheet. I don't know if I can bring it up. I did have it on one of my charts, but the Wall Street cheat sheet, that basically shows what happens in markets. So you have the beginning phase when nothing much is happening and people aren't sure, and then markets start to pump and then they go crazy. Then you have the blow off top, and then you have the crash, and then you have the dead cat bounce, and then it just levels off. So I don't think we've had that yet. Even though Bitcoin has gone crazy, I still think there's a lot further to go. And so, yeah, I'm like, even now as I'm speaking, Bitcoin's doing pretty well. And let's zoom in and really see what's happening here. Because in my video from earlier, my concern was, if you look at the last few days, Bitcoin's done this a good few times now. It's pumped, come back down. It's pumped, come back down. Now, we're looking to break this short-term level of resistance. So my target from earlier was this 90k level. So yes, a very good chance that could get hit. And there's also a chance that we could pump out and break through here and resume the bull run. I don't think it will, but that's why you just need to take it level by level. If it breaks this, then yeah, we could come up to here, which is also a resistance line. And if it breaks that, and then yeah, we're looking at this area here. And so that is my short term. I do see more downtrend, but over the next 2 to 3 months, we should break out of this, and then we should resume another uptrend. And that's when I think stuff will start to go crazy again. So let's go back and let's look at some clean charts. I want to look at the S&P 500 and talk about some kind of targets there. So this should hopefully be a clean chart. So this is, I remember reading some kind of stat. They said if you invest in the stock market and you leave your money in there for at least 7 years, you're 100% guaranteed to win. And I understood it straight away. I didn't even have to think about it. I'm like, you know what? They're right. Because let's just say, for example, you bought over here and then it crashed. Most people will buy here and sell here. But if you just held, and then within a year or so, even 2 years, you've almost doubled your money. And you can do that with every top over here, even way over here. It took a lot longer to recover, but you know, after a few years, you're back in profit. And so the way the markets, how do I say the markets are rigged? It's the system, and you know, the system, especially with the money print. And if you just understand that at the very least, you know this is just going to continue to go up. It always has, it always will. I mean, if you're doing trading analysis on this, you can probably go back even further. I'm just connecting local lows. You know, I'm going to go back even further actually. Let's go into the monthly. So let's go with this low here. So that would be like an alternate support trend line. And this would only really come into effect in some kind of capitulation event, which could happen. It goes back to what Ray Dalio was talking about. He said, look, there's probably likely to be some kind of blow off top. And so right now we're in a steady uptrend, and I take this trend line by trend line. And so I've got that longer term one, which probably won't happen. And then you've got these two more recent crashes. So this is 2009 and then 2020. So if you're going by that, then if we do have some kind of capitulation, then that would be the level there. But I don't really like these flash crashes. So what I like to do is try and ignore those and try and draw some kind of line of best fit. So I'm going to switch back onto the weekly. So what we're ultimately looking for is the line of best fit through here. And you want to be, I mean, you could draw that, but I like to attach this to the bottoms. And so I normally just draw a line and then just move it around and then see how that looks like. Like, that looks pretty good to me. You know, I could probably even bring this back to here, or even this level here. What we really want to do is just catch as many points as possible. So that point, that point, that point. So this is support even more recently over here. And so if we do have a pullback, then yeah, that would be the level that I'd be looking at. But we're in an uptrend, so I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon, especially with the money printing coming into play. Because when you understand the system, crypto is one of the last things for these banks to invest in. They prefer the safer, less riskier assets, and then they start to rotate. And so yeah, we want to see if this trend line hits, and then we've got a bit of resistance here. So yeah, we're definitely in some kind of squeeze. And if we break out of this, then yeah, the bull market's going to be back on. So what could potentially happen over the next few weeks is we have some kind of move like that, and that would be great. If that happens, then this goes hand in hand nicely with this Bitcoin chart. Right, before I continue, I did have a request in the chat. They wanted me to look at Asta USD. I believe this is the one. So let's have a look. Oh wow, that's had a nice drop. I don't know much about this coin, but it's in a downtrend. There's no denying it. And it doesn't look good. I don't know how old this chart is. It's only a few months old, so it's a relatively new one. I want to see if I can find another chart. Okay. So this goes back, well, similar kind of time actually. What I'm really looking for is a chart that goes back with more data. Because the more data you have, the better decisions you can make. But it looks like it's a relatively new coin. So I'm just going to go with this Binance one. And so if I was to chart this, I'll just do the same thing. I'm going to connect this top over here. That's the resistance level. So we need, we're way, not that far away from there. And then that's going back the other way. I mean, we could have some kind of support here. That would be good. And if I'm taking this level by level, I'm going to be looking at this kind of potential squeeze here. So, I mean, I don't have this coin, but if I was to buy it, if I was to be speculative, the problem is there's not enough data. There's not enough data to make a decision. Like, this might not be the low. It could continue to fall down, and then eventually it will come up. So yes, it's not really much for me to say here. All I would say is, yeah, if you want to think about re-entering this coin, I would really wait until it breaks this level here. And then, obviously, you need to wait to see what happens in the rest of the market. Like, if Bitcoin continues to tank, then alts are just going to get smashed as well. Right, I'm going to save this to my live stream watch list. So we can keep an eye on it. Let's see what happens with this one. But ultimately, there's not much data. There's only, 2-3 months worth of data. And it's already broken through all these different levels. So yeah, for me it just does not look good. Right, this is a chart that I love to talk about. This is the stablecoin dominance chart, and there's a direct correlation between this chart and Bitcoin. As this chart goes up, Bitcoin goes down. As this goes down, Bitcoin goes up. It basically means that people are selling their Bitcoin for stablecoins. They're going into, say, Tether or DAI or USDT, USDC. And so this has, like, I've drawn this support line here, and trading analysis does work on here. Like, if you look over here, this is November, it broke out. It broke out this long-term resistance line. And if you look at the price of Bitcoin, it started to tank a little bit before then. And so, yeah, here was a good time to get out of the market. And so for me, we're definitely at some kind of resistance level here from a horizontal point of view. And so if this continues to go up, yeah, Bitcoin's going to go down. But if it does break this trend line, I did draw this a few weeks ago, then there's a good chance that Bitcoin could be in for a short-term pump. Let's have a quick look at alts, and then I'll sign off. Yeah, this is Ethereum. It's just going to follow Bitcoin, unfortunately. I drew this resistance line a little while ago, and then we almost broke through, but we came back underneath it. And we've got some kind of small level of support here. Yeah, not really. It's not really a good one, because we broke through it. I'm just going to leave that there. And so yeah, ETH is just going to follow Bitcoin. And I will look at alts, but ultimately there's no point until Bitcoin starts to really move, because they're all coming up against some kind of resistance level. All of them. I'm surprised to see this actually just pump like crazy just recently when everything else is crashing. Do not know why. But yeah, we need a break out of that level. At least that level as well. Alright, if anyone's live, you can give me some coins in the chat. I'm happy to have a look. But yeah, everything is just in a steep downtrend. It's been unfortunate for alts during this period, because they just haven't performed. Like, if you look at most alts, they had their all-time high back in, I think it was almost November time last year. And then this year, haven't done anything. Like, this is SHIB. This has just done so badly. It's a shame. It is a shame. Alright, XRP. Aquarium Fandango. Let's have a look at XRP. Alright, I remember I was tracking this for years. And it was just ranging here for such a long time. It's almost a stable coin. And this is during the bear market, but it also had all the pressure from the legal system, which has all been resolved now, and it went on a huge run over here. I remember this run, and I think I sold around about here, because I was expecting a bit of a pullback, but that didn't work out. But it's all good. But anyway, let's look at this. I mean, this is a really good chart. I mean, we've had some really nice pumps, some stabilization, pump, stabilization, and a pump. And this is in an uptrend, completely different from that Asta chart. But again, completely different also because there's a lot more data. It goes back over 10 years. And so what do we have here? It's difficult to draw support here because the whole market's in a downtrend. I mean, I could draw a support line connecting these bottoms, but is it going to hold? Probably not. The previous support line was here, and that broke, and it took a while to break down, but eventually the price has almost halved since then. So right now, I would say the most logical level of support is probably a horizontal line over here. because the good thing with this one, it actually is quite a lot of touch points here and here. But, you know, it depends how you draw this as well. If you go a little bit higher to get a few more touch points, it's broken through. So when you do these support lines like this, you do want to have, you're going to be looking at a range. Oh, that's good. Sold at $3. Well done. Well done. And so, yeah, this will be the support range for XRP. And it's difficult to do trading analysis on alts because it might be looking really bullish and then Bitcoin crashes and it just takes everything down with it. But if I was to buy back into this, we want to, we need this trend line to break again. That's what we need. And then it's level by level. If it does break out of here, then this will probably be a good place to go short. But ultimately you want it to break that as well. So for XRP, what I'd be looking at is for it to break out of here and then do something like that. So yeah, really, I don't see the markets making any meaningful movements until early next year. Even Bitcoin, as we've been speaking, it's come back into this channel again. And this is where it's been teasing us. It breaks out, comes back down again, it breaks out, comes back down, and it looks like it's doing the same thing on this live stream. Now, I want to close out by referencing this chart. And this is the chart that, if you've been following my stuff, you remember I drew this back in 2022. And then I said, this is going to be a good time to buy. And this is when I think we're going to top out. Now, if you look at the date, October 6th, I got the date down to the day. So that's the exact day that Bitcoin topped out in this run. It didn't go as high as I thought. I thought we would hit this 175k mark. But, hey, calling the top to the day, I don't know anyone that did that. So I need to make some more noise about that. But yeah, it's still been a good run. 130k almost, give or take a few grand. You know, I was telling people to buy over here at 16k. So yeah, if you followed my calls, you've done really well. And I'll say the same thing that I used to say when people ask me on my live streams over here whether or not they should buy Bitcoin. And my answer is the same. If you can buy and hold, you will win. But if you're going to buy and sell, or if you're putting your rent money in that you need to take out next month, then you're probably going to lose. And so, just like the stock market, I think the stat was if you invest and you hold for at least 7 years, you win. With Bitcoin, it probably isn't as long as 7 years. It's maybe 2-3 years. I'll say the same thing. If you buy now, and even if the price comes down to 30k again, 40k, it will go higher again. The price will recover. It's just mathematics. And if you understand mathematics and economics, I'll switch back to my full screen. Bitcoin is just mathematics. And what I mean by that is you have a fixed supply, 21 million coins. You have ever increasing demand. And that is the fresh liquidity that keeps getting pumped into the system. As that continues to go up, price is going to go up. And I remember being in Japan, 2016, I was talking to my cousin, and we were having a heated debate, and I was saying the same thing. And I was like, look, the price is only going to go up. And this is when Bitcoin was only maybe less than $1,000. And I was surprised that it grew so quickly, but my reasoning remains the same. The supply is fixed, demand keeps going up, and if you understand economics, the price is only going to do one thing, go up, and it's going to continue to. Yes, it's going to go down, but it's always going to go back up again. And even if you buy Bitcoin now, you're effectively getting, a 30% discount, because it is almost guaranteed to go back up again. And so, yeah, take from that what you will, but yeah, I like to jump in out of the markets at the right time. I like to use my indicator, and when this flashes the next buy signal, I will be buying back in, and I'll share my moves as normal, and I'll continue to make updates So thanks for watching, and I'll go live again next Friday, and I might do this more often. If you think I should, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.